Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everybody in between, welcome to another episode of the Wednesday News Wrap, a part of the Hoops Crew Media Network. We're going live today, Ben, live for the Patreon subscribers. Love this. Love the adrenaline of doing live production. How are you?
Mate, I'm going well. The Cats have won 6 out of 7. We're under the radar, though. Can you believe a team that has won 6 out of their last 7? No one's talking about us. Just perfectly positioned, just about to round the bend into the home straight there, Jake. It's just set up perfectly for the Catters.
It is. Sambo and Johnny on the chaps often nitpick over, how little time Geelong got on SEN or on Fox Footy. Sam will send me the timestamps of podcast going, yes, they chatted Geelong from the 37-minute mark to the 40-minute mark of their podcast, and those 3 minutes were mainly talking about Patrick Dangerfield. So the chaps keep a weather eye on the media horizon, but no, it's nice to be under the radar, Ben. Some folks who we don't want to keep under the radar are our beautiful Patreon subscribers. We want to talk all about them and say a big thank you to Luke, Kevin, Stephen, Kiri, Duncan, Edward, Rachel, Matthew, Sam, Phil, Denzel, Jackie, Joey, Gad, Gerald, Jared, Joey, Josiah, Chad, Kieran, Jody, Liam, Steve, Jared, Morris, Cat in Space, and Ali. All of you awesome folks over on the Hoops Crew Patreon. Now, this one's going up as an early access show for you. Then we're going to put it up on the public part of the Hoops Crew. So if you're listening to this on the public part and you're like, oh, I'd like to get my name read off, I'd like to jump in and help support the work of the Hoops Crew, make sure you go on over to the Hoops Crew on Patreon. You can start a 7-day free trial right now and enjoy all the extended and bonus coverage and content that you are provided there. Massive thanks to our Patreon subscribers. But Ben, let's jump into the news. Let's read the news. We're going to start with final thoughts. An 11-point win over Freo. Shawnee Manor, mind your manners, with the match-winning goal. We had a vintage fourth quarter from Dangerfield, his 200th win. Jez's 250th. We're fourth on the ladder. Where do you want to go, Ben, with your final thoughts?
Yeah, Jake, I'm still buzzed. When I did the post-game live straight after the game, I was actually speechless. And it's not great when you do a live show, Jake, and you can't get any words out. It's really not the format for that kind of thing. But no, what a terrific effort from the boys. Incredibly proud of what they did on the weekend to go away interstate. I think the AFL world probably had 9 out of 10 people in the AFL world had the Cats losing this game. Well, not getting smashed, but probably thought Freo would get the job done at home. And there was so much on the line for Fremantle and for the Cats to stand up and take that off them. Hostile crowd. We're all about it. I can't believe we're sitting fourth on the ladder with a realistic chance, Jake, if everything goes right, a realistic chance to finish the home and away second on the ladder in 2024. We're going to do it again. We are going to do it. This football club is incredible. Absolutely incredible.
If I wasn't worried about getting copyright strike, I would sing Defying Gravity from Wicked. Honestly, we probably wouldn't get copyright stricken because it would sound nothing like Defying Gravity from Wicked. But yeah, the Cats, they continue to defy gravity. Ben, I think that the cliff is a myth. I think we might put it on a t-shirt. The cliff is a myth. The Cats, they just keep rebooting. I had to chuckle to myself, Ben, because on a weekend where Craig McRae was particularly pissy in his post-game presser, and I was just flashing back to the best coach in the league rankings a couple of months ago, and Craig McRae on top and Chris Scott nowhere near. And all of a sudden, who'd have thought Geelong find their way out of a really tricky, a really tricky patch mid-season. And let's face it, if not for a late, win for Sydney, the Cats could be in with a chance of finishing first. Where are a Sydney 1-point win away if that result goes the other way, with being in with a shout along with a couple of other teams, if things fell right, to have finished first. Now, that's not the case, but second on the ladder would be most impressive. What I loved, and we talked about it on the chaps, Ben, was just how composed Geelong looked in a big environment on the road. Like, we had a great question from one of our Patreon subscribers, Josiah, about how much extra footy the Dockers had, the extra marks and possession. But we actually said in real time watching the game at Johnny's place, we were really comfortable with where Freo were getting the ball. And we just said, as long as at some point in this attacking move for Freo, they're forced to kick to a contest and we can force another stoppage or we can force a spoil or a turnover, we felt really good. Like, I took it back to watching NFL, and sometimes you talk about the bend but don't break defense, where you'll allow a side easy short completions and short plays as they march down the field, and then you bow up in the red zone and you force a turnover or you force a field goal, you force a stoppage down there where it matters. And that's kind of what I felt like Geelong played. They were happy to let Freo have the ball, work it around. They jogged around and put their defensive structure in place all around the ground. And then when it came time to, contest, the Cats outspoiled the Dockers 30-22. They outscored them 41-20 from clearances. They played the counter-attack beautifully. I thought this was a massively, massively impressive win for our Catters.
I thought you recapped the game really well on the Monday night show. It was a really interesting episode, just hearing you pull it apart, all three of you, just seeing. And I think that's probably where the conversation hasn't gone a lot. And you touched on it, the structures, I should say, defensively, but also offensively as well. I think we're never going to be a team, or at least this version of this footy club is not going to be that team with six blokes getting 30 touches like North Melbourne seems to do. It's like, great, you're getting the ball a lot. It looks great. Everyone's going to talk about you're going to get in the paper. But Geelong will get it done with 10 blokes with 22 touches. That's fine. Or not even, really, not even. It's not about how many touches you get. It's what you do with it, and it's what you do when you don't have the ball, which is what you emphasise very heavily on your show. So I enjoyed that. If anyone who's watching this, whether they be Patreon or YouTube viewers, check that episode out, because I think it'll open your eyes and your ears up a little bit to maybe how Geelong's going about it. And Jake, I think the Catters might be giving you a call. There might be an assistant coaching role in analytics at some stage there as well, game style and analysis. So keep your phone on, because it might be coming your way.
We're in serious trouble if there's ever a phone call coming my way from the Geelong Football Club that isn't followed by a conversation telling me to just back off and stop pestering players or something. So let's talk Dangerfield. We definitely need to talk about him. Talk about winding back the clock. Johnny said 7 of his 11 clearances came in the last quarter. I didn't fact check John on that one, but I'd believe it.
I heard it on the radio too, and I saw it on the television. Sorry. I think he really wound the clock back, didn't he? It was one of those Dangerfield circa 2016 performances where he just said, "Okay, boys, follow me. Just follow me. Jump on my back, and I'll take you to the promised land." And that's what he did. It also reminded me a little bit of Tommy Hawkins in the 2011 grand final. He just marked everything, and he wasn't kicking them. Yeah. He just kept missing everything from goal square and kicking them out in the full as well. But the players just just rallied the troops, and it was this wave of Geelong, this will to win, and it was all led by Paddy Dangerfield. So I hope we see more of that. It might be one out of the box. Paddy's, he's getting a bit old, and these absolute hurlers don't come around every week these days. But it was great to see. It's good to see he's still got it in him as well. Hopefully he saves a few of those for September, Jake.
Absolutely. Obviously, Jezza, his 250th game, and he opened it with an absolute ripper of a goal. Talk about winding the clock back to precisely, what was it, the third quarter of the 2022 qualifying final against Collingwood.
Right.
Yeah, slotting that one from the gutter of the car park. He was exceptional. He loves the car park. It's not Jess's pocket, it's Jess's car park. That's what we need. There's another T-shirt idea. Jez's car park.
Wait, why
Just Jez
aren't we
slotting
making use
goals
of the
from
shop?
the outer.
We got to get the YouTube shop happening. There's all these T-shirt ideas, so let's get it going next year.
But yeah, I think that I'd probably be happy enough now to just sort of put a cap on that game and just say it was a fantastic performance. Sambo made a point of talking about how some of the players involved in the lead up to different goals, and this was the same against the Adelaide Crows. It wasn't all the usual suspects, and I think a great example of this one is, Sean Manners, Brad Close-esque, volleyball tap to Brad Close, who gives it back to Manor, who streaks in and snags the goal. Like Lawson Humphreys coming up with incredible defensive efforts the last few weeks. It's a new cast of characters. It's familiar faces playing new roles, like Tommy Stewart in the midfield, for example. It's very, very exciting. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. I'm not just excited for what's to come over the next couple of months. I'm excited for what's to come over the next few years. I really don't. I believe the cliff is a myth. I think wanting to contend every year, you will find a way to do it. I honestly think some footy clubs let themselves slide into irrelevance because they believe that's just the organic cycle of things. Look, Geelong probably will bob down eventually, but I don't think it's anytime soon. Yeah. Let's move on. Do a quick VFL recap. Did you get I watched this game. This is how I spent part of my Sunday, Ben. I rewatched this one. A 23-point loss to Carlton, and we were up by, I think, double digits midway through the last quarter. The Cats just let this one slide away. Carlton finished with the last 5 of the game. Phoenix Foster, 3 goals. Mitch Nevitt, a career high, 32 disposals in VFL or AFL. It's the first time he's cleared 30. Snagged a couple of goals. We're 5th on the ladder. Can't finish lower than 6. We're likely going to finish home and away in 4th if we win and Box Hill lose to the high-flying Werribee. Did you have any takeaways from this game, Ben?
Yeah, I went to the game briefly. We saw about a quarter, nearly a half of footy on the weekend. I went down to Kilda Park and had a bit of a look. It was great. Cats looked like they were well on top. Probably not making the most of opportunities while they were on top, and we had to get back. Had to get a couple other things done on Saturday, and we left, and we sort of watched the rest of it on the phone. And mate, you're invested when you're absolutely raging at how the VFL's going. You're invested in this football club when the results of the VFL team really get you emotionally up and about, or distraught. But I just had to put the phone away a couple of times. I couldn't watch. My wife's screaming. She can't believe it. And then we're just like shaking our head in those last few minutes as the goals just kept coming from Carlton. And I was like, oh, we've just. I feel for the boys because they gave it everything, but there's a great opportunity here really for that to cement that sort of top 4 spot. And we'll need a couple of things to go right for us on the week. We'll need to win clearly on the weekend coming, but we'll need to hope another result goes our way.
Yeah, absolutely. It was one of the very few times this season I've seen this VFL side sort of just come up with no answers, and it was just a bit of a melt is how I would sort of describe it. It was just like once it went wrong, it went really wrong, and they were just unable to stop the rot, really. It was just like, it was almost like, in a game of cricket, you've got the game in hand and someone starts hitting boundaries in the last couple of overs and it just suddenly unspools. That's what it was like watching the Cats in this game. I remember a particular England-Australia game, lower order all-rounder. What was that guy's name? He was a Tasmanian, and he tonked the Poms around at the Gabba. Oh, my goodness, I can't remember. But anyway, that was a hell of an innings. But we're crossing all sports here, Ben. Just pulling
We're heading
deep,
into
one day references. I think we should, maybe pivot into a cricket podcast from like December through January.
When's Gaelic footy?
Phoenix Foster. What about January? I was really impressed with. I'll give you the 3 players who made my votes. I'm trying to just think who got my 1 vote. I gave 3 votes to Mitch Hardy, who I thought was really exceptional. Again, 35 plus touches, and I think he had 2 behinds, could have easily finished with the 2 goals. He's a much improved player from what he was when he came to us last year to what he is now. It's out of sight. 2 votes I gave to Mitch Nevitt, 32 touches, 2 goals. I think he had 7 or 8 tackles as well. I'm a big believer. Mitch Nevitt, he's just got to physically develop to be a bit bigger so he can push people around, or at least not get pushed around at the contest at AFL level. I think there's a good player there. We're just going to have to wait a little longer. And my 1 vote was to Phoenix Foster, who probably, honestly, his best game since I first laid eyes on him when he debuted against Coburg last season. I've discussed it a bit on the Twos VFL podcast the last few weeks that it's Phoenix Foster was a massive peak for me when he first came on the scene. It's sort of been a slow, build downwards a bit, and then it's coming back up. I feel like he's really starting to just build himself back a little bit. There's lots of work to do. Like, I don't think you want to kid yourself there. There's lots of work to do, but yeah, and he did really well. He took good marks. He competed, hard in the contest. So I thought those were my 3 best ons: 1 to Phoenix Foster, 2 to Mitch Nevitt, and 3 to Mitch Hardy. Some quiet days, Ben.
Little tidbit though before you do that: when Phoenix Foster kicks a goal, you know all about it. You can hear it from the other side of the stadium. He really lets rip. He loves a goal. Good old Phoenix, absolutely loves a goal. That was good to see.
He gives it the big Leighton Hewitt come on, doesn't he? That's what I thought I heard. Come on.
Come on. Let's go Balboa.
Love it. That's right. Let's take it to Twitter, Ben. Enough of the VFL. Let's put that stinky loss behind us. But take us to Twitter, where you ran another hotly contested Twitter poll.
I did. And it's very topical at the moment because all the talk on the AFL shows and on the radio is all about Hawthorn. Oh, Hawthorn, how good's Hawthorn? No one likes Hawthorn. We don't care. But Jake, I thought, how good would it be? And how good would it be if Geelong played Hawthorn in this year's grand final and flipped the script on them a little bit and actually got some payback for 2008. Now, I did think posting this, I wonder how it would go. I wonder what people would feel. Would they welcome that? Would they want the challenge of trying to get some payback, or would they be like, no, I can't handle it. I could not handle it. Too stressful. If we lose, I don't know if I'll ever be able to come out of my house ever again and face the world. It was interesting. It was pretty much 50-50. Most people, 54%, said yes, I think it would be epic if we saw that grand final. But the 46% said, no, too stressful, can't handle that. No thanks, I would rather not have to deal with that situation. So it's a possibility, Jake. I guess if both teams were in the top 4, it'd be even more of a possibility. But a lot of things have to happen in the next couple of weeks in the home and away and in finals, depending on where we finish in the draw and who defeats who and all that sort of stuff. But how would you feel if on a bright sunny day, end of September, the Cats run out, the Hawks run out, and boom, the ball gets bounced? I think I'll be up and about, but at the same time, you should get a camera on me the whole game if that happens, because I'll just be absolutely out of control.
I am getting nauseous just thinking about it.
Are you on the 46%? Too stressful?
Well, my mantra after 2021 was to stop complaining about where we played teams, who we have to play, because I was known for having a bit of a sook about, finishing second and having to go to the G to play Richmond in front of, 85,000 bandwagon fans. Because their team was up and about for the first time since the 80s, before the invention of, Twitter or anything, the internet even, perchance. But look, I stick to that. Anyone, anywhere, anytime, any place, I would feel pretty gross going into it, only because it was such an awful day in my footy fandom. But look, you got to take anyone on. I would say that if they finish outside the 4, the chances of it happening are pretty low. I went back and did the last 15 years of grand final matchups. I didn't realize how heavily skewed it was towards the top 3. There's only 4 teams outside of the top 3 that have made the grand final in the last 15 years, which is
Yeah.
pretty insane if you think about that. So
There's
no
usually a
one's ever made it
standout.
from 8, but yeah.
There's usually a standout team most years. This year doesn't seem to be, but most years there's a team that's probably 1 or 2 games clear of the comp, and then it's the second and third are relatively close, and then I reckon there's a bit of a battle for that 4th spot, the top 4, between 4 and 5. That's generally my feel most years, so I'm not surprised, but the top 3 are the ones that are appearing in most finals. It's either, first versus second or first versus third or second versus third. That's probably the most common ones. If you went even further back, you'd probably see that going back 30 years as well. I guess more in recent years, you're seeing it's really around that top 3 is where it's at. So it'd be great if Geelong finished second. Stats would say we've got a good chance of a grand final if we finish second. It's never a guarantee, though, is it, Jake? But with this aging side, if we could get a week off in September, it'd be great. Actually, I won't start down that path because I know you'll have a response when I say aging side, because it is that interesting demographic. We are topped up by a few older boys, aren't we, in terms of that average age? But maybe they'll cover that on another show.
Speaking about being topped up, we should probably have a talk about Contract Watch, Ben.
Yeah, Colin, where are you, mate? Come on.
Contract Watch.
He's still trying out.
Well,
thank you, Colin.
Yeah, he dries out just in time for Friday. Starts the cycle again. So Contract Watch and being topped up. Christian Petrarca talk that he wants out of Melbourne. He's not the only one. I think I saw a little thing about, was it Alex Neil-Bullen as well? There was a little tweet or something about him as well, I think. We obviously know all the stuff about Clayton Oliver. This Melbourne, the dynasty seems to be falling apart at the seams, Ben. What do you I mean, Christian Petrarca is on a still, I think he's got 5 years to run on a big deal, but there's always money in the banana stand. What do you think?
I think it's
can we get him?
I think we got to scrap Melbourne for parts at the moment. Pick apart. I reckon we just take the best of what we can get from Melbourne. Right? Are we going to get a copyright strike? Probably not. You got to sing in tune for that. For those that don't know, that was an ad from the 90s. Or the noughties. I think Petrarca will stay, but how fun is it to just pick on the scraps of Melbourne a little bit? We are one of the only grand final premiership teams in the last, the only grand final premiership team in the last 4 years to still be standing, Jake. So Richmond, Collingwood, Melbourne have all fallen over. Don't look like they're going to make finals this year. Collingwood, maybe slight chance, but very unlikely. I think Petrarca will probably stay, as I said, where he's at, and they'll sort some things out. They may look to move the coach on, maybe. Don't know. I reckon they should have moved him on a year ago, considering all the things I was hearing behind the scenes, without saying too much. But I think they'll probably look to rebuild. I think their premiership window looks to be coming to an end. Does Petrarca and others want to be there in the next? They say, do they want to be winning their next premiership as 34-year-olds, or do they want to win another one in the next couple of years? I guess it depends. He's got a 5-year contract, though. It's pretty hard to get out of it when the club doesn't want to move you. So I'm not sure what to do there. But yeah, Clayton Oliver is the other one that keeps popping up in regards to Geelong. I don't think that's realistic either. I don't know where he'll go, but I don't think it'll be Geelong. What do you think, though? Do you think Petrarca would be a good fit at Geelong if it was a realistic opportunity to get him?
I think Geelong can always find a way to make people. Yeah, exactly. I know Sambo would be a big fan if we could pry Jack Viney away from the D's. Sambo is a massive Jack Viney fan. Yeah. Look, I don't think it will happen. I think if this was the NFL, it'd be much more likely to happen. These sorts of deals can happen. The salary cap seems to be even less of an actual entity in the NFL than the AFL is. I think it's a lot harder for teams to do it. I mean, the Cats were able to sort of push some of Jack Bowe's money around to make that work, but Jack Bowe's money, I imagine, was significantly different to what Christian Petrarca's money is. Just at a
Maybe.
guess, I would think. So look, obviously it's fun to speculate. I love playing the part of the arrogant, entitled Geelong fan who every time a player becomes available says, "Welcome to the Cats." It's part of the fun. You got to play the villain. We are cast as that anyway for most other fan bases. I don't think it's a realistic thing of him making his way there. I think there's a player from the Bulldogs who will probably find his way to us almost certainly this offseason. I think the Cats will be pretty just about happy with that, given the development they're seeing out of some other players on the list at the moment.
I think so.
All right. Birthdays.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Sean Manor and Jake Collar-Jasny, opposite ends of the field. Both had pretty decent impacts on the game, I thought, on the weekend. But yeah, big happy birthday for Sean Manor. And
the manner of the moment. Oh, very good.
Well, had Mind Your Manners. We've had the manner of the moment. We've had Sam saying he sealed the win in an emphatic manner.
Manna from heaven.
Chopped it up.
Very good. Happy birthday to all those guys.
Love it. We've got some ticket prices. Let's quickly discuss this. There's been a price freeze on entry-level tickets. Is this for finals? Is it $35 weeks 1 and 2?
Yes. So,
and the grand final is frozen as well, Ben?
I believe the grand final is frozen now. I should say, Jake, that these ticket prices are frozen for the very low level of ticket prices. So, so if you're hoping to get the cheapest ticket for a final, those prices will be frozen. I don't know how many tickets they'll release at that level, at that price point, but that is what they're saying. So it is, I guess they're probably charging more at the upper ends to sort of compensate for the loss of freezing prices, I guess. And that's the same with grand finals. They just seem to be selling the corporate packages for grand finals are going up and up and every year, but they haven't moved on the really low level ticket price. But even if you want to go to the grand final, you're going to pay whatever it takes, and you just basically, if you go on a ballot, you get what you get. So unless you're going to pay one of those corporate things, so you might get I don't know if you get level 2. I'm not sure how they allocate seating in the grand final about where you sit, but I know there's a range of different prices and so forth. But yeah, week 1 and 2, it's fixed at about $35. It goes up to about $65 in the prelim, I think, and the granny's $185. So save your money, Cats fans. It's going to be an expensive September. So maybe if you're going to have that extra coffee, don't do it. Don't forget, if you don't keep subscribing or keep being a Patreon of the Hoops Crew. Don't save your money there because you're going to miss out on all the cat stuff. But maybe drop that extra coffee elsewhere and save your money for September because we've got a big month ahead for you. It's all about us, Jake.
Slam that Nescafe instant. Let's talk about Carji Greaves medal.
Oh, yes.
Tickets on sale, 285 schmackaroonies for members on Thursday, the 3rd of October. But more importantly than the Carji, Ben, I'm going to handball to you here because I feel like this is your baby in a lot of ways. There's something more important happening a few days before that.
Well, we've got the Hoopies Awards. Yes, it's official. The Hoopies, the most important award in football, the best and fairest, as we see it at the Hoops Crew, 5 of us, Jake, Sambo, Johnny, Paul, and myself, and we cast our votes every week. We do the 3-2-1s. I think a maximum of 15 votes every week. We have gone in dark mode lately. We haven't been publishing the results. Unfortunately, a couple of players who might have been best on didn't get the love and attention they probably deserved, but that's okay. We're in dark mode for the last few weeks, and we'll do that. Now, we'll mix that up a little bit. We'll do a vote count similar to the Brownlow. It won't be as formal as that, but we'll mix it up with a bit of fun and silliness as well and a few other silly awards along the way. throughout the year. I'm sure we'll have to do a bit of enough of the year, Jake. Maybe look back at some of Paul's enough of the weeks and find his short list of the top 3 for the year, and then we might have to do that. I'll have to think of some other awards as well. If you've got any thoughts, let us know in the chat how you want to sort of see that night play out. But it will be a live show. I think it's Monday, 30th September. We'll do a live show, and that'll be a bit of fun. And hopefully I might even have a couple of beers that night, Jake. We'll see how we go. Every time Tom Atkins gets a vote, we all have a drink. I reckon something like that. Hopefully, he's got a few votes.
Goodly. That's right. No, I like it. I like it. Can't wait for the hoopies. It'll be nice. I mean, are we going to dress up schmancy for the live stream? Maybe
we should for once. I'm wearing the hoodie at the moment, but I should probably put a shirt and tie on or something. Do something.
Well, mate, yeah. Sort of. We'll see what we can drag Colin, the producer, into. I doubt we'll get him in a tux, but we'll be dragging him into a taxi by the end of the night. Let's talk about AFLPA, AFLPA, actually. If yes, AFLPA. AFLPA sounds like some sort of like second or third, supporting character in a Harry Potter film. AFLPA. 22 under 22 squad, the AFLPA 22 under 22 squad. We're old, we're decrepit, Ben, but we do have 3 players in the 22 under 22 squad in Ollie Dempsey, Max Holmes, and Tanner Bruin, all named in the squad. The final team will be announced on August 21st. How many of those lads do you reckon, I was going to say chaps, do you reckon will end up in the final team, Ben?
Probably at the start of the year, if Bruin had kept on playing, he probably might have been up there. I think he'll be the one that'll drop out. Dempsey and Holmes, You'd think Dempsey being the current favourite for the Rising Star, and Max Holmes just probably turning himself into probably one of the best 50 players in the comp, maybe. I don't know. Maybe that's fair. I don't know, Mel. I'd love to know what people think. Is Max Holmes a top 50 player in the comp at the moment? I think he's close. If he's not there, he's probably getting close. Dempsey, 100%. Lawson Humphries didn't get a nod, came in very late, but is he eligible next year? I think he's 21 now, isn't he, Jake? So I can't remember the exact criteria for that. Turning 22 in what year, I'm not sure, but hopefully you'd imagine the way he's going, Lawson Humphries, if he is eligible next year, you're guaranteed to be in it. He's a star. He's picked every week. I can't see him. He will play finals for this football club. There's no doubt that he's playing finals now. Lawson Humphries. I cannot see a world in which he gets dropped. I've turned this into Lawson Humphries. He wasn't even in the squad, but anyway, it's about Lawson Humphries. I'm in Lawson Humphries' world right now, and I'm loving it.
We all are. I just checked Max Holmes' age, and he is turning 22 this year. In fact, in about 2 weeks.
Okay.
So that would, to me, make Lawson Humphries eligible for next season. So yeah, hopefully he can lock that up, as well as a Brownlow off halfback. Speaking, I've got no transition for this. So we'll just go into it anyway. We've got some baby news. Baby. I don't know if we've got a sound drop there or not. We do. Tom Atkins and partner Laura welcome baby boy Jack into the world. Jack Atkins. That's an excellent name. I like Jack Atkins.
Are we going with Jackkins? Are we going with? Is it too early to go with Jackkins? I don't know. It feels like it's got to be something like that.
I just think that hopefully they don't have, they haven't totally scrapped the father-son policy by the time if Jack Atkins decides to go into football. There's got a lot of decisions to make before then. But if he does, Jack Atkins in the Cats midfield, that'll be a sight, and we will all feel incredibly old because we will go, I watched his daddy run around for the Cats. So yes. Congratulations to the Atkinses. Book release. Tom Hawkins with the massively innovatively titled Tom Hawkins book. $25 for a hardcover on Amazon. Have you had a read? Have you pre-ordered?
I haven't pre-ordered yet. I don't want to jump the gun just in case there's a Father's Day present on the way from my kids or something like that. There probably isn't, but I thought I'll wait a week. We'll see what happens. A couple of weeks, actually.
It'll be socks.
Probably. I need socks. I've got holes in them all, so it's definitely going to be socks. I've been saying that, but I did sneak a peek of the first 6 chapters, and interestingly, I didn't realize this. I knew Tom Hawkins's grandfather and father played for the club, but I didn't know the family history went all the way back to 1923, 101 years ago, when Tom's maternal grandmother's uncle, get that right, Nick Rushfield, debuted in 1923. I think he played about 40 games or something like that for the Cats. And it's not just that. They've had heaps of family members play for the club. It's insane. So just those first few chapters, definitely worth a look. Get them. You can have a look on Amazon on a free sample now. The first 6 chapters are up, but maybe get on down to the Cat Shop or Target or Kmart or wherever you get your Catters books and add it to your collection. I've got a few behind me over there. I'm going to add another one to it in the next couple of weeks, I think.
Sounds goodly. Another good read from one of the legacy players of Geelong's Premiership dynasty. That brings us to this week. We cast our eyes forward to a game against St Kilda, the knuckleball banana peel team is sort of how I'm referring to them. Ross Lyon, he always makes it difficult. It's just his way. Got to make it difficult for everyone. It's at Saturday, 7:30 p.m. at Marvel Stadium. Last time, we won by 8 points down at Cardinia Park, round 1, 2024. We were there in standing room, going off tap. Dempsey won the Rising Star nomination with 3 goals. Dangerfield, 25 touches, and that game-sealing goal from outside 50. Milestone, Ollie Henry could get to 100 goals. He's on 96 at the moment. What are your thoughts and feelings going into this game?
I'll start with Ollie. He's 4 goals. I haven't seen him kick a bag this year, really. He's due, though. Surely he's got to be due. He's just that finger injury that he sustained against Freo, which is not going to keep him out of footy. He wasn't named on the injury list, which we'll get to next, but he's playing well. Maybe this is the game where he just bobs up and kicks 4 or 5. Come on, Ollie. We need you to have a big game. Now's the time, Ollie. Just September's not far away. We need you to start firing. And imagine him and Stengel going nuts, and Gary Rowan comes back in, and then Jezza just says, well, guys, I'm just going to – if you guys just want to have fun, I'll just kick myself a lazy 4 goals and I'll let you guys do the rest. That'll be great. So, I'm excited about this game, Jake. I'm not going to get to go to it, but that's okay because I'll be able to jump into post-game live straight after the siren or after the club sings the song. Maybe am I jumping the gun there? Maybe I am. But no, I would be very keen to hear some Cat supporters straight after the game. Hopefully we win this one. They're all danger games, but this one feels like more of a danger game than anything to me. I think we'll still get it done. I'm probably just every week I go into these games thinking the worst. But the Cats, you just got to look at the numbers. The Cats win most games. They just do. They just find a way every year. 2 games to go. I think we've got some players coming back in. Gary Rowan should be right to come back in this week. I think that'll help. Don't know how we're going to go on Marvel, especially after running around, getting off a plane, a 6-hour flight from Perth. That always takes its toll on you a little bit. And then playing on the concrete at Marvel Stadium. How's that going to go on the legs of the Cats? Who knows? Mateus Philippou for St Kilda, promising young player. He's a touch and go to play. I saw him in the VFL a few weeks back. He looked really good in the VFL, then came into the AFL and continued on that form. So as much as I want to see the good players, at the moment I just want to bank the 4 wins. So whatever happens to help the Cats get a win at this point in the year, that's great. I think Cats probably win this one though by about 4 goals, I think. And then we just see what happens, see where the rest of the games play out. But I think every game's important at this point. If you want to finish top 4, you absolutely have to win this game. You lose it, you kiss goodbye top 4 pretty much, Jake. It's all riding on this. Hopefully that's not too much pressure on the Cats. Hopefully they just take it like every other game. and don't worry about the ladder or anything like that. But reality is, for us Cats fans watching, that's just the equation. Lose and you're out of the top 4 pretty much. Win, you're a chance to finish top 2. I love this season, Jack. I'm just absolutely loving the way the top 8's just playing out now. It can jump up and down. It suits my personality, Jack. You know, I'm a roller coaster kind of guy when it comes to supporting footy. I'm up and I'm down. I'm on that ride this year, and it's just tailored perfectly for me.
I think this is not so much a danger game, but it's been proven anyone can beat anyone on any given day this season. I mean, the Tigers, anchored to the bottom of the ladder, beat the Swans. The Swans, who are top of the ladder, got belted by Port a couple of weeks ago. Like, it's a truly weird, bizarre season. We beat the Crows last week. The Crows go and beat the Dogs this week. The Dogs beat us by 40 points a few weeks ago. So none of them are a given win. But the Cats, I think, should back themselves to go in and get the job done. If they play their best footy, I think it's too good. But they've got to be smart, because Ross Lyon will want to draw them into a back alley brawl that they can ugly up. So we've just got to be smart, keep our composure, keep that, defensive structure and our discipline with how we pressure. Don't get sucked in. 3 or 4 players to one guy and they get a quick hand pass out and suddenly they're away in space. Just be composed. Don't get sucked in. The most important stat, though, going into this one, Ben, we talked about Ollie Henry needing 4 goals to get to 100 career. More importantly, in my opinion, he's currently on 68 goals for Geelong. So his next goal for the Cats will be his 69th goal
Nice.
for the club. And I think that's worth celebrating. So if you're at the ground, get up and about. Let's let's talk injuries. It's a good segue into injuries. Tom Hawkins to undergo an amputation. I mean, what are we talking about? No, he's fine. 2 weeks. 2 weeks, apparently. The West Coast Eagles game is in doubt. I don't know how to feel about this, but I'll let you talk about it in a moment. SDK out with a knee, another 1 to 2 weeks. He's undergone a minor procedure. Mark O'Connor to be confirmed with a knee. Cam Guthrie to be confirmed with an Achilles. Good Troy movie. Tanner Bruin, TBC with a concussion. Ted Closey, TBC with a concussion. Toby Conway is out for the season with a foot. Mitch Edwards out for the season with a back injury. Your thoughts on Tommy Hawkins and SDK? The SDK one's a classic example of Geelong going, he could have played the second half of the Crows game if needed. He could have gone back in. And now now he's had a minor procedure. So what was it really? What are your thoughts on these 2 injuries, Ben?
I'll start with Tom. Now, he's not having an amputation. It was put to him that maybe you want to consider the possibility of amputating your toe, but he didn't do it.
What?
Yeah,
is this for real?
It's for real. So in my show notes, I didn't elaborate on that, but no, that was put to him by the doctors that it might help you if you want to maybe have a red hot crack at it. But he's like, no, I'm just going to try and work through this. And so it's not great that I think we all expected, based on the time frame that was put to us members in the AFL world, that he'd be back for the West Coast game, but that's not likely to be the case now, sadly. And now that really just, I guess there's a couple of things there. It gives him an extra 2 weeks to get right. So if they're really, really keen on bringing him back, then the program that he's on will be tailored towards the first final in the first week in September, because we get the pre-finals bye now. So they're clearly thinking maybe better to do that than to try and bring him back for round 24. Sadly, unless we're going to play a team at GMHBA, that might be the last time he's played a game at Cardinia Park for the rest of his career. So unless he changes his mind and plays on next year, but he's done a press conference. I don't think that's likely to happen. He could be done. I think, Jake. That might be the end of Tom if the plan is to bring him in and to drop Shannon Neal. I don't know how I'd feel about that, unless the plan is to ship off Shannon Neal to West Coast in replace and get Jake Waterman in return. Fair enough. You don't worry about upsetting. Don't worry about upsetting Shannon Neal too much, and if that's your plan anyway. But I don't even know if that is the smartest thing to do. I tell you what, though, I would not want to be a Geelong selector in the finals. Shannon Neal, to my eye, seems to get better every couple of games. He just takes another step. You start seeing another couple of things that he's doing well. But beyond that, I think what it does to Jez's game, Jez is playing out of the goal square more. Shannon Neal, the small forwards looking a lot more dangerous lately. I'm probably one of the few Geelong supporters that think don't bring Tom Hawkins back at this point, especially in the finals. Stay with the Shannon Neal, Jezza, and the small forward trio option. But I'm not going to get upset if other people say that, Ben, that's ridiculous. I think Tom should come back. He's a hero. He's better than Shannon Neal, who'll win us another grand final. That's just the way I see it at the moment. I just don't want to flirt with the team structure right now, and I feel horrible that Tom's found himself in this situation. But when he went down, I actually said at the time, I think that's it. I don't think he's getting back. I don't think you can bring him back. And it's just turned out that things have gone so well for the Cats in the last 7 weeks, apart from that Bulldogs game. I don't know how you make a decision to drop Shannon Neal at this point. And I don't think you go, okay, now we're going to play 3 talls on the forward line when you've barely done that all year. It's a tough one, Jake. How do you see it? And maybe you can answer the Sam De Koning one. Give your thoughts on that.
The Sam De Koning one's an easy one in terms of I just don't. If they say a player's going to play, they don't. And if they say a player won't play, he will. So I almost fully expect Tom Hawkins to run out against West Coast. He actually improved faster than we thought. If there's any sliver of a chance that he's right to go against West Coast, then they rest Shannon Neal and they put Tom Hawkins in, regardless of what their plans are for finals. If there is any chance in, as Sambo said, maybe we'll be able to read it. If Shannon Neal's the sub, we know how confident they are that he'll hold up. But I think... So, yeah, Sam De Koning, it bothers me a little bit because I think he was getting back to playing some of his best footy, and now it's gone from, we're just being, the idea was sort of that they were being cautious, to now minor procedure and out 1 to 2 weeks. And that on the eve of finals sort of makes you a little bit, a little bit edgy, I guess. I have decided that I am just going to trust in all involved at the club to do whatever they all think is right as it pertains to Tom Hawkins. I actually put out a tweet earlier just saying Tom Hawkins is one of the very rare few players who, if he never laces up his footy boots and goes out again, he will walk off utterly satisfied with everything he achieved in his career. I think the 2022 flag bought Selwood that. I think it bought Tom Hawkins that. If we don't have that flag, I think it's a very different scenario right now. If we lose that grand final, I think there's a much more, a sense of urgency that I need to get back because I need that extra flag. I honestly think that they won't risk endangering this finals campaign by playing him if they all feel that it would be. I think they'll do the right thing, whatever that is. But I guess I don't know what I would do. It's such a hard question. But I back this team that has continually made great decisions about its great players. They'll do the right thing.
I agree.
Whatever that is.
I'll say that I agree with that completely. I think you trust the coaches to do the right thing. The third angle on this is that Tom isn't going to be in the best 23, but they want to get his body right in case he's needed. So there's no point bringing him back and then, Tom gets injured again. And first week in the finals, Shannon Neal gets injured or Jez is injured. Now you've got 2 talls injured. So maybe they just want to get him absolutely cherry ripe. The plan is to stay with Jezza and Shannon Neal through the finals. And Tom, if he plays, he plays. But that may depend on how the health and fitness of the others. The only other thing I'll say to your point about can he retire a happy man, I think he'll definitely retire a happy man. But can you imagine Geelong wins the premiership this year and Tommy Hawkins has been at the club for 5 premierships, but played in 3 of them. He's missed the ones at the book ends. He missed the 2007 and he missed the 2024. If that happened, that'd be interesting, wouldn't it, to look back on and think, how many did Tom win? Did he win 5? No, he won 3. He wasn't picked. He wasn't picked for 2 of them. Okay, interesting. But no, he'll retire a happy man, 100%. He's got he's done everything he can do on the footy field, really, and he's got a great life ahead of him off the field as well. So whatever he wants to do.
Yeah, games record holder for the club. Like no one's played more than him. But yeah, I put it this way: if Shannon Neal plays, I back the club to have made the right decision. If Hawkins plays, I also back him to have done the right thing. Like I just think they'll come to the right conclusion, one way or another. I think it'll work. But yeah, crazy to think that we are now just a Mitch Duncan retirement away from being totally clear of the Bomber Thompson era. He's the last player on the list that was drafted by Bomber. So, for all the talk of, Chris Scott only ever won with Bomber Thompson's list, there's been a bit of churn since then. In the mix, speaking of injury and players who might be in or out of the side, Gary Rowan, obviously, working his way back after his own, it was a concussion issue, wasn't it? Mitch Nevitt, Jai Clark, Brandon Parfitt, Connor O'Sullivan, Mitch Hardy, James Willis, Phoenix Foster, George Stevens, Oscar Murdoch, Joe Furphy, and Emerson Jecker. Is there a player on there that you're sort of thinking might come into the fold, particularly around the fact that Tanner Bruin is now, going through concussion protocols?
Yeah. Well, is it too late in the year to play Jai Clark again? I still think it is. Tanner Bruin out. Does Brandon Parfitt get a final look at it? I don't know. I think a lot of Cats fans would be up and about with that. A lot of head shaking from you. I know a lot of Cats fans want Mitch Hardy, but I think we've got to accept the fact that maybe that's not going to happen. I think he'll go okay at another club if he gets picked up in the off season. Gary Rowan comes back. Mitch Nevitt probably has done everything right to deserve a recall. I guess the Cats would love a stable side right now. Unfortunately, you've got to make a couple of changes. Oisin Mullen was on the bench. Sorry, as a sub. Does he play a full game? I don't know. It was a bit better in the second half. I don't know, Jake. How do you read this? There's a lot of depth in the VFL, clearly. It's just who do you see of those guys that you just named from the VFL? Predominantly been playing VFL most of the year. Can you see any of those playing in the finals this year for the AFL team?
Oh, finals would be a stretch.
Possible though.
Gary Rowan, I think. Yeah, sure. Gary Rowan, if he's healthy, I think they'll find a way to get him back in the team, even if it's the sub. I reckon he will come back in one way or another. They like the impact that he makes. George Stevens, I don't think we see till 2025. Phoenix Foster, 2025. James Willis. There's a number of these players, I think, who are fighting for a spot on the list next year. And I'd probably put James Willis, Phoenix Foster, Oscar Murdoch. Although Oscar Murdoch might be a 2025. I can't remember. I don't think we see Jecker play. This is weird. It's almost a change of tune here. I think we do see Mitch Hardy before the season's over. I reckon they might. If Tanner Bruin, look, maybe not. Maybe I'm wish casting a little bit. Anyone who's listened to my VFL coverage on the Hoops Crew Patreon will have a very fleshed out idea of how I sort of feel about Mitch Hardy and what the plan might or might not be with him. And I kind of tend to think that he will be at the Cats in 2025. I think he's come through a different pathway to get there. I think he's had a lot of ground to make up. This is me from a million miles away speculating. I'm not sort of, breaking any news. But just my speculation is he's had to go through a much different program and pathway to get to the AFL. He's not had that professional elite level training program, off seasons of, fitness and strength and conditioning and that. I feel like there isn't, and there's been some stuff that he's had to get up to speed on. But his footy knowledge and understanding of how to get involved in the game is superb. It's tough. I don't personally think Mitch Nevitt's ready to play a big role in 2024. I don't really think Brandon Parfitt is either. I think Brandon Parfitt will be elsewhere next year. I think the most likely midfield pick is probably Jai Clark. I'd like to see them give Mitch Hardy a go in the regular season, like in the home and away in one of these last two games, if there's a midfield spot on the line. I have a feeling they're going to lean towards bringing Jai Clark back in, just because that's been the track record this season. I think he's played, is it 13 or 14 games this year? He's actually played in quite a few games, Jai Clark.
I don't know if I'd want Sheen Mullen and Jai Clark at the same time at this stage of the year. I think one of them I'm comfortable with, because I think you definitely need to get games into guys for their development. But I don't know how much you carry. One of them, Jai Clark, seems perfect for me to go onto the bench. I think you could do. We always forget about this, or I do. You can shuffle the pieces, so you can move someone into the midfield to replace Tanner Bruin from the back line or from the forward line or from a wing or whatever. But just like we sent Tom Stewart back for the most part last week to cover Sam De Koning, and you'd imagine Tom Stewart spends a fair bit of the next couple of weeks down back. Probably go through the midfield at times, but we'll be anchored a little bit more in the back line while Sam De Koning's not there, just to give him a bit more stability. So I think that's probably more likely that Jai Clark will come in as a sub. Osheen Mullen will probably go back to the twos, and Gary Rowan will come in. So Clark and Rowan probably come in for me, and then just shuffle them around a bit and figure out what the best mix is.
The most likely scenario, as I said, wouldn't hate to see Mitch Hardy just given a test run at some point, but I'm also happy for that to be in the preseason game next year. I would love for us to retain him. Let's move on. We'll just wrap up the show here, foreshadowing the fact that the AFLW season is rapidly approaching. I'm in the process of putting together our coverage for that this season. It's going to be the same thing as the men's. We're going to do, preview, recap. I think we're going to continue with post-game live as well, Ben. I don't think
that's right.
Stepping on your toes to say
no,
that.
not at all.
Be a
not at all.
live.
We'll have one post-game live per week while both teams are running still, and it'll probably still come after the men's game. But once that ends, it'll be post-game straight after the women's games generally. And but yeah, while they're both teams are running, hopefully we'll get a few women's games before the men's game, so we can talk about both on post-game live as well.
Yep. And we had a match sim against Collingwood on the weekend. Believe we had a win. Draft pick Brid O'Rourke. I can't remember. Is it Bridie or Brid? I can't remember.
I think it's Bridie. I think it's Bridie.
Bridie O'Rourke. Apparently looked quite good. Irish recruit Kate Kenny, still learning the game. I think she'll be an absolute gun once she gets sort of feet under her. I've watched her play a little bit of Gaelic football, and she is, like an incredible talent. There is an official practice match, Ben, against Essendon, Saturday the 17th of August at 1 p.m. at Windy Hill. I'm hoping that'll be televised. I didn't really get to watch. I don't know if the match sim was even available to watch anywhere. And there's been a few announcements of other sort of key dates. The AFLW trade period will commence on Thursday, December the 5th this season. The grand final on the 30th of November. That'll be the last game, hopefully, with the Cats team in it this season. 2024 AFLW draft will be held on December 16th. So all of that, and we should just mention before we get out of here, Ben, the VFLW, they had their best and fairest on the weekend. Lily Jordan claimed it. As someone who watched, I think, all 14 games of the VFLW season, I might have missed the one game on the weekend that I got married, but Lily Jordan, her growth was exceptional this season. She came in. If you read sort of draft profiles on her from places like Rookie Me Central, it was that she was a sort of a small pressure forward. Maybe lacked sort of I think it was like sort of explosion and athleticism to play the midfield sort of stuff. She turned into one of Geelong's best, most reliable midfielders this season after they lost, Charlotte Simpson to the Saints in the AFLW draft. They had injury to Abby Faval and a couple of other players who would have been, the presumed midfield heirs to players like Simpson. Lily Jordan just stepped up in an absolutely massive way. And I think that she would potentially be hearing her name called when it comes to that AFLW draft on December 16th. I guess nothing's guaranteed, but I certainly would look at her as a player who can offer a lot of work rate, a lot of ferocity in her tackling, and she's really improved her ability to win the footy as well. So I think she'd be an exciting addition to a lot of AFLW teams.
I agree. Hopefully the Cats pick her up.
Yeah. Very hard to force your way into that midfield at the moment. But maybe she could go back to playing that sort of pressure forward role. That's all. We've managed another hour. We always have the ambition that it'll be 40 minutes. It never is, but that's all right. It's one of my favorite shows each week to do when I get to do it, when the day job doesn't get in the way. Love jumping on and doing the news with you, Ben. Just want to say a big thank you to all of our Patreon supporters. We're genuinely appreciate it. I was reflecting on this morning, Ben, just how much it's so nice that people, put really lovely comments on our videos and on the podcast. There's been a lot of them recently, people just saying that, that they like the show, or can we talk about this thing, or they look forward to our episodes, etc. And it means a lot. I don't know about to you, but it definitely does to me. The internet can be a really negative place, and sometimes you can feel like you're just grinding away, making stuff, and like, is there anyone out there? And it's really nice that people leave those comments, and like the fact that people in this economy part with some of their hard-earned dosh on the Patreon, can't really put into words how much that means. It's very humbling in a way. So thank you to you, the Patreon. Yeah,
I think I really, really appreciate everyone's support financially, but also just your eyeballs and your ears, and just engaging. I love it. There's nothing that makes me happy, Jake, when I see some comments on the videos, or some comments in the Patreon chat and all that sort of stuff. It's like, oh, great, we're building this community, and I'm just loving it. That's what we want to happen. That was the idea a few years back, when I started this channel, and then bringing you in as well, building this YouTube community up a little bit. I'm really, really glad that it's turning into that space.
Yeah, absolutely. You are certainly the Nick Fury of the Hoops Crew Avengers in your ability to bring the various parties together. Get that eye patch going, Ben. The Thursday night, you'll get your your AFL men's preview. The game against St Kilda, the chaps will be here. Friday, I will do a VFL preview on the twos. That's for Patreon subscribers as the Cats take on 11th place Sandringham. Saturday night, after the game from 10 p.m. live on YouTube, you will get post-game live with Ben and Paul. You can jump in on that show. That's a bit like callback radio. You can put your hand up and say, I want to jump in and say something. I'll bring you in. Don't be an idiot.
No.
Be nice with the boys. Sunday morning, there's the reaction video. Usually that's from Paul, sometimes from Ben, very rarely from one of the chaps. Monday morning, enough of the week from Paul. And then Monday night, we will be back on the chaps with your AFL recap, the extended version of that for Patreon subscribers. But that's it. We're getting out of here. Hour and 5 minutes. Thanks so much, Ben. Love doing this show with you. Love being on this adventure with all of you. And until next time, go Cats.
Go Cats.